So let me first introduce myself. I'm Dr. Laveri Reynolds. I'm the new ACOS for affiliation. I previously came as the VA EM site director, where I served in that position for 4 years. So I've had some experience with the onboarding process through my EM residence. And I do want to say that our office has been, along with several other departments at our VA, we've been working very hard to improve this onboarding process for our trainees, because I know that it's been an arduous process in the past. It takes a lot of time and can lead to a lot of frustration for everybody. So we are working very hard to improve this process, and I'm very hopeful that this year it's going to be a much better experience for everybody. We're going to go through, just to let you know, we're going to go through the deadlines first, which is what's up right now. Those have been tweaked a little bit. And then we will go through each form that's in the packet that we'll be sending to the trainees, just so that you also have some familiarity with it in case they request any further information from you, or at least you've seen the forms. You'll know we're going to go through some of the areas where things are infrequent or very frequently filled out incorrectly as well, just to give you a heads up to that. If you have any questions during the meeting with each form, please feel free to ask. We'll try to do what we can to make sure all questions are answered. Some of this will be familiar, some things will be new. All right, so we're going to get started with our first form here. This is actually the deadlines and the process to help you all understand, when things will begin. The drop dead dates. These dates are set. However, I would look at them as kind of the speed limits. Those are the highest or the latest you should go, and anything below that, i.e. before that, is even better. It will allow our team more time to get everything in place in time for these residents to be onboarded in time to start their first rotation. So with that said, obviously March match day is this 18th, this Friday. Very exciting for the incoming residents. And that's about when things will really begin to ramp up for everybody. And at that point, you all will be collecting the data as far as the contact information. And we request that you get that provided to our administrative POC, Ms. Carol Gaines, no later than next Friday, which is March 25th. And then that way we can start the process to begin to get the packets sent out to all the residents. Our goal is to start getting those by March 31st to everybody, so that they can go ahead and begin the process of getting their packets completed, which will include their MTT trainings, CPRS tab by tab. Fingerprinting is the most important to start the process, and we'll go through all that, each form one at a time. The next deadline that will come about is submitting the TQ CDLs, and those will be due April 15th. And I realize that's very soon after Masters Week, so I am, really wanting you to realize that's the date, and to plan ahead with all the craziness that happens during Masters Week. But that again is a deadline so that we can ensure our residents will be ready to roll when they need to be in July. And we'll also go through, we'll mention these forms as well so that you can see each one of them. It will include new appointments, promotions, terminations, and we'll need those from every individual program. After that, we'll be moving on. Our new residents will be expected to be returning their packets by April 22nd. So what I would suggest to you all, between the time that we send out the packets and they are due, just as the program coordinators who will be working with this over at AU, I've talked to some in the past, and really they get best results if they are sending out a weekly reminder that kind of checks on the status of where they are in completing their packets, make sure they don't have any questions, and reminding them to get it done by the deadline. And that really does help to move them along. They're excited right now, so that's the time to catch them. Let's see what else I was going to say. So the TQCDL, like I said, those would all be due, and we'll be going ahead and getting those along with those packets from you all, and moving forward with completing terminations and adding into the program all of the new folks coming in. Step 4 will be some, we will at that point be basically pairing everything together and signing the concurrence memorandums that you all have sent with the TQCDLs, checking and confirming that everything is correct, and verifying that the hard copy packets that the residents have given us are accurate and complete. And then by May 13th, we will be forwarding all of that. Well, actually, we'll be receiving all of that to continue to address all the needs for the final editing, everything to be done so that we can move forward with approvals by June 1st. And that's pretty much the part on your side where that ends. The rest of it will be really on our side. We will continue to work with the entire TQCDL being completed, which is step 6. That includes all the packets, everything to HR. And then by step 7, all of that will go to our ad packs. They will begin the process of really getting these folks their accesses that they will need, a VA email that they will need, which is what the JIT you see there is. And we will try to have all of that also completed by June. And then all of that goes to HR and to the PIV office and to our AdPack consortium to confirm that everybody is ready to receive their PIV card and their computer accesses. And then just the final step is new this year, and we're asking that the AUGME will submit their approved resident fellow advancements just to confirm that those people who have been here have been successful in completing their previous year, and they are ready and able to move up in the promotion that was documented in the TQCDL. Are there any questions about this to start? No.
Connie, this is Dr. Morris.
Yes.
Okay, having been involved in this as long as you have, what are you going to do with those medical students, soon to be learners at the residency level who are behind and getting their stuff in?
I'm sorry, you cut out for a second. Who are being what?
Who are consistently behind in getting their documentation in, to include those who have worked at other VAs and have PIVs, which really causes a problem when they get here and never turn their old PIV card in.
So, so I'm not sure what we can do about them not turning their PIV card in unless they still have it, which most of them don't by the time they get here. What I can say is if they're coming from another VA, we have added a new form, which we'll go through in a minute. We've been working very hard to make sure we've included some stuff to help streamline this process. And one of those things we'll be asking if they have been at another VA, where they were at. And then on the VA side, we are pulling together, we've almost finalized a flow chart to also bring forth the point at which those emails from the other VA that they're coming from be transferred here so that it doesn't slow down the process. Have I answered that completely for you?
Yeah, that we'll just see how that works out this year.
Okay.
But it always hurts the PSA who who's trying to get them their new PIBs, their codes and everything, and they were at another VA and they didn't get discontinued at the previous VA.
Yes, sir. That has been identified and is early in the VA side of the process.
Mhm.
And that's why there was an additional form added that included some stuff to allow that to happen very early and be identified very early in the process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, then what I'm going to do, this is the beginning of the packet that is being sent to our residents within the coming week and a half. And so it's a checklist, and I'm going to go through each of these individually, just because I feel like some of them require a little bit more attention, and some we can just kind of say, well, here's the form. It's pretty straightforward. They just sign it, and we'll go through each one of those. But Latanya, if you can click on the fingerprint instructions. All right, so this is the form that explains how they are to get their fingerprinting done. And there are codes under number 1 that are there, but we also have included, which we'll show in a little bit here, a common fingerprint form, and it also has those on it. So if they print the common fingerprint form and take it with them, then these codes are automatically on there and their fingerprints are not going to get lost. And that's when times lead to them having to get re-fingerprinted after they get here, is they've either gone to the wrong place or they haven't brought the codes that were needed to ensure that those fingerprints get to the VA, to our VA specifically. And so we recommend that they go ahead and get this done as soon as they get this packet. It can't be done more than 120 days before they start, but by the end of March, that's putting them right in the window in which to be able to do this. And again, they should bring the form that we're including in this packet. The other very important part about this is that they can click on this link here to find the VA location near them. It does not require them to go to a VA facility, though that is ideal. But more importantly, if they can't get to a VA facility, it has to be a federal facility. So it could be an FBI office. It could be anything that's a federal facility that does fingerprinting. It cannot be a local, such as a police department or a sheriff's department. Those are not shared and do not get to the proper facility, which is our Charlie Norwood VAMC. So if there are any questions, they can go to that link for the locations, but they also can go to only a federal facility. Tanya, you want to move down on there? And so the other piece that's new this year is that they can also schedule their own appointment to get their fingerprinting done, so they don't have to just show up and wait forever. And so if they are in this area, there is a link now that is included in this form that they can go into the site and make an appointment. So I know some of these folks are coming early. Some are trying to do this during their, in between their medical student rotations and whatnot. And so they know their schedule better than anybody to know when they might be able to make an appointment for that. So that's new this year. I think that's also going to help streamline things a little bit better. The last part of this is to bring to their attention the documents that they need to bring with them in order to show proper identification. Invariably, they will show up and they'll only have one piece of identification. And so this is going through specifically the primary and secondary sources of what they can use and to ensure that they know and can come with the appropriate stuff. And it also can't be expired. So if they show up with a driver's license that's expired, that will not do them any good. So I think that is it on this form. You scroll down a little more, Latan? Yeah. Okay. Are there any questions about the fingerprinting piece?
Hi, this is Derek, Specialty Cares AdPac. On
Yes.
number 4, Doc, you have contact the AdPacs. In that process, we wouldn't have any information to give them.
As
So
far as
it will
for
probably,
fingerprinting,
yeah, it'll probably be best to have them contact PIV because the AdPacs, the local AdPacs are the, especially AdPacs wouldn't know.
okay,
So
okay,
I wouldn't have no information to give them. Just something to throw out there.
okay, okay.
Thank you.
And does it say to, I don't remember where, I thought it was saying to
See, it
contact.
say contact your department AdPac. We wouldn't at that
You're
point in
right.
time, we wouldn't know.
Okay, thank you for letting us know that, Mr. Wright. We will make sure we can correct that as well.
All right, thanks, Doc.
Thank you. All right, any other questions about fingerprinting? Okay. So let's go on to our next point on this. So I'm going to just briefly click on the tips on completing application documents. There is one piece on here specifically that I want to draw your attention to. And so first of all, on the walk appointment letter, make sure that they are filling in the end of their graduation completion, not of the year that they're starting. So that's important there. Also, when it comes to the form, the 10285 OD that they have up there, dash OD, there is a section where they ask for the name, and I want you to be aware, it says last name, first name, middle name. Now, I know that sounds like that's just too obvious, but the other forms, some of the other forms requested in a different sequence. And so to bring to their attention that in each of the individual forms, they really have to read the form and make sure that they're putting their name in the correct sequence, because they will read the first form and then they just kind of follow through with the rest of the forms in the same sequence, and then the other forms are all incorrect. So I just want you to be aware of that. Also on this form, and we'll pull up the form here in a second. There's a couple of other things related to that, along with some of the other forms that will be getting signed off by y'all that will be important to recognize there's a congruence that needs to be noted. As far as the Declaration for Federal Employment, which is the number 306, this is in red, and I want this in red to help you realize that this is a misleading statement. It says your signature is required as applicant 17A and as appointment 17B. That is correct that they will be signing on both those lines, but they will only be signing 17A when they fill out the application. As the appointee, they will be signing that after they have gone to HR. HR has sworn them in, and the signature that they put onto 17B is to show that there has been no change since they first put the application in and then were being sworn in. So they do not sign 17B when they first fill out this form. So that's why that's in red, and it is misleading. So I wanted everybody to be aware of that. And then as far as appointment affidavits, this one's pretty self-explanatory, but just the appointed date is July 1st of 2022. And of course, the placement they're going to put is the CN Band C. And then they put their signature is required as the appointee. So that may throw them off because on the Declaration of Federal Employment, they don't sign the appointee signature until they're sworn in, but on the appointment affidavit, they will sign it there. And then the sponsor request form, what I will say about that is just for them to please print clearly. We tend to have sometimes people's print, if they're using a hand print, is not very easy to read. If they don't have a DEA or a license, they just need to leave it blank. They don't have to put an NA, they don't have to put anything else, just leave it blank. Any questions? We're going to go into the details of each of these forms here. Okay, that was just some tips that kind of came about. So if we can go back to the main form, LaTanya. All right. And we're going to pull up the Declaration of Federal Employment, OF-306. And again, as compared to the other one, the 102850D, this one requests the name be in a different sequence. So this one requires that they have a first, middle, last name. And so again, it's just to bring to attention some of the things that the trainees often fill in incorrectly. Also, when we get to 7A, this only applies to males to fill out the yes, no. I'm sorry, it applies to all to fill out the yes, no. If it is a female, i.e. they were not a male born after December 31st, 1959, they do not answer 7B and C. They leave it alone. They leave it blank because oftentimes our females will put in no, they weren't a male born, but then they answer, have you registered as no? And they don't need to. They should be proceeding to number 7C. I'm sorry, yeah, 7C, because then it's if no, just right. I'm sorry, it's don't answer 7B and C. Sorry, I'm getting confused there. Military service is obvious, and they will know what this is, the type of discharge, if they've ever had any military service. Obviously, some of our folks are still active duty or are in the reserves. And so this information will be filled out appropriately for that. And then let's see, this is all just self-explanatory. This is asking just about, it's really for the background check that requires to be done for federal service. Keep going. Okay, and this is where I was talking about they only sign the applicant signature and date it. Do not sign the appointee's signature until after they see HR and they're sworn in. So that's the part there that I wanted to make sure everybody saw. And that's it for that form. Is there any questions about this form? Okay. Then we're going to move on to the application for health professions trainees form. And as I mentioned before, contrary to Form 306, this one asks for last, first, middle instead of first, middle, last. So just to be aware of that. Other things is as we go through this form, there is the citizenship piece. If they are naturalized citizen, they need to have a copy of the naturalization certificate. If they are not and they have a visa, that information needs to be included there as well. And then I will fill out the bottom piece there. But if you continue on, if you notice the next page at the top, again, a lot of times they don't notice that they have to enter their name again at the top and include their social security number at the top. The other thing about this is as they put their name in, actually, LaTanya, can you go back up to the first page one more time real quick? There was something there I think I needed to include. Yes. So there is the name, which is number 1A, and then 1B has other names used. For the purposes of formality and consistency, we ask that they use the name in 1A as what they fill out at the top of each of the following pages. They've had some where they've used the other name, so they're kind of bouncing back and forth between the two names, and just to be consistent, whatever they put in 1A is what I would ask that they fill out at the top of each of the next pages. Okay, so we'll go back to that next page. Licenses here, I do want to just comment real quickly about this. A lot of our trainees come in having had other licenses. They were a previous nurse, or they were a pharmacist. They may have licenses that are both either current to what they're doing, or like example, some of our military people will have already had a medical license after their first year, and then they're starting a residency as an R2 or a PGY2. So it is important that they include these licenses here. If they are included on this form, I will get to this in a minute also when we discuss the memo for TQCVL, but there is a statement there that says that the program coordinator the program director has reviewed all of the HPT criteria and has checked the boxes of anything that is applicable. If they have included licenses here, you need to check the box that says you have reviewed and confirmed their licenses. A lot of times we get the TQCVLs and the memo does not have anything checked for that, but the trainees have licenses mentioned in this form. Okay, keep going. I think just the rest of this is pretty self-explanatory. Yes, that's it. And then they sign at the bottom. Sign their signature name that is congruent with the rest of the names that they have included on this form as their primary 1A name. Okay, are there any questions about this form? The others, I promise, will go a lot quicker. Okay. All right, the employee education data form. Might I say that this one also comes with last name, first name, middle name, as opposed to the 306. And at the bottom here, there are some things that may give our trainees some heartburn. The education code they can recognize from section B above on this form, but the program code, which says enter the 6-digit program code, if they've had another degree, this is where that 6-digit program code comes in. And if there's somebody from HR on, I would like for them to comment. There is a supplement, as you can see on the form. It says there's a supplement they can access to get the 6-digit program code. And is there anybody from HR on this? No? Okay. What we are working on is to either have that form attached or have a link for them to be able to look up the program.
Dr. Lavari,
Yes.
I believe that's the form they said we can remove from the packet.
Oh, that's the form. Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Well, then that would even be better if it's one less form that our trainees have to go through. It's perfect. Okay, so forget that form. The random drug testing acknowledgement just is a memorandum that they read to identify that they are and can be randomly tested. But this is just to inform them that as working in a federal facility, it is mandated authorization to be spontaneously drug tested. Any questions for that? Okay. The common fingerprint form. This is the form that I was just mentioning, that if they print this and bring it with them when they go to get fingerprinted, it has at the top the codes, as you can see in red, so that their fingerprints get sent to the Charlie Norwood VA for processing. If they don't bring this form, they have to at least have those codes, but this form makes things a lot quicker and easier when they get to the fingerprinting, because they'll have to fill this out when they get there if they don't, and they won't have the codes. So this is just to help them, along with the fact that it identifies them as a health professions trainee and not an actual VA employee per se. Are there any questions about this one? It does ask here, oh, that's right, that's the other piece. It does ask here if you have received a VA PIV type badge previously, and if yes, where? And although it is on this form and they will fill it out, we actually have a separate form that will alert our AdPACs right away to this issue as well. But the PIV office needs to know that, and then we'll also need to know that on another form. No questions? Okay. Computer access request. This is the form that our AdPACs will get. This is where the information that we have identified that our AdPACs need to start the process moving quickly. And they will retain a copy of this so that if our trainees are disusered at a later date, our AdPACs can pull up this information and go straight to where they need to go to find out what the problem is. So the important pieces here are there's an end date. Where is that? I think it's further down on the form, Latanya. So there it was, yes. So program end date. It's important for them to identify when they are expected to complete, i.e. graduate from the program. That is not the end of this year, i.e. 2023. That is when they are anticipated. That will help us to ensure that all across the process, everybody's termination date is at the end of graduation or 3 years. So those who have a four or 5 year program, they will have to have reissuance after 3 years. But at least most of our programs that are 3 years will get through with only one time through this process. And that allows us to make sure that that date is put in correctly and not a year out as it used to be. I also advise them to use an email address that is not the school email address that they are at presently when they fill this out, i.e. their medical school. Almost all of them have a secondary email, a Gmail, a Hotmail, a Yahoo, whatever. But I would advise that that be the email that they use, because once they leave their medical school, and we'll come across this when we do discuss TMS, any additional information that needs to be requested would go to that school email, and then they're not there and they can't access that email anymore because it's not active. So I do advise that to be a personal email, not a school email address, from the purposes of when they're filling this out at their medical school. Okay. And then this is also, have you ever had a VA email previously? And have you ever had a VA PIV card previously? I will tell you that a lot of times, so if they've had a PIV card, they should have had a VA email. I will tell you that a lot of my trainees that come through don't even know they have a VA email. So if they've gotten a PIV card, they have probably had a VA email, though most of them may not be able to tell you what that email is. If they can, that's even better for us. It helps us to move this process along much quicker from moving their VA email from the other VA that they were at previously to our VA, Charlie Norwood, so that we can begin the process. They cannot get a PIV card until they have a VA email address. Okay, and then obviously most of them will not have a DA number, but certainly our fellows might, and even some of our folks who might have done another residency might. So if they have an NPI or a DEA number, they need to include that here as well. Are there any questions about this form? I know it's new, but it is what we've identified are the most important pieces of information for our ad packs to have, so that they can move this process along as quickly as possible. No questions? Okay. Don't forget that they do need to submit a CV. All residents have to submit a CV. And the important piece about this is in their CV, it seems kind of crazy, but because it's federal facility, they have to account all the way from high school graduation to present, and along the way, there can't be anything more than a month of a gap. They have to have some explanation. For example, if they took 6 weeks off between graduating and a job, they have to document what were they doing for those 6 months or those 6 weeks. So anyway, there cannot be any gaps greater than a month, and if there is, they have to have an explanation as to what they were doing during that time. All right. Government ethics. This is pretty straightforward. This is just a notice for all prospective VA employees. It goes through explaining the ethics behind being a VA employee, along with some of the ethical conducts, the Hatch Act, some of those things that are important as far as financial gain while working at the VA. And so they need to read this and they need to sign it. And that one's pretty straightforward. And the next one is just on the heels of that, the standards of ethical conduct, and just talks about a little bit more of restrictions on gifts, conflict of interest. It talks about they can click to the specific regulations on all this. And again, it's just another portion of the ethics of working at a federal facility, and the standards that go with that. And they also sign this one as well and date it. Any questions about that form? Okay. I don't know if this has been in previous packets or not. It's fairly new, and it's just a policy on patient abuse, and explaining what that is by definition and what will take place if that occurs and they are found to have been involved in that. So it talks about the penalties and what can happen. And they need to sign that as well, that they understand. Basically, we should be taking good care of our veterans as we do every day. Any questions about that one? Okay. The malpractice statement. This basically, as we pull it up, this basically talks about the fact that while they are here working in the VA, they are protected by the federal government in the event of malpractice, negligence, or other claims made against them. But it does not apply when they are not here. So that's just to be very clear on that. When they are working at AU, they fall under AU's guidelines on that. And then they just print and sign a date. Is there any questions about that form? Okay. They do need to have all their state licenses that they currently hold included if they hold any. They have to have a BLS card that needs to be provided by July 1. And so several of these will not have that to start. Most of them do, but not always. And so if they don't, do remind them that BLS needs to be done before they can rotate here. And then there is a copy of their TMS certificate of completion. And what I will say is we'll go through, there's a link down below, we'll go through and just pop it up real quick because there's a couple things there that I want to make sure I clarify. And then this is the CPRS tab by tab basic orientation. This is very important for them to be able to get access for our electronic medical record, which is our CPRS. And I will say it, it's just one of those things they have to go in, create an account so that they can view the orientation for the CPRS. And so I realize it's an additional account that they have to create, but it is important for them to be able to get in and manage the learning about our electronic medical records. So it's really a view, and then at the end they'll have a short take evaluation, and then this explains to them how to print the certificate. We do need a copy of the printed certificate. It can come electronically as a printed certificate, but we have to have a picture of the printed certificate of completion. Are there any questions to this? Okay. All right, so we talked about the DEA license. If they have one, it's applicable. They have to put it in there. If they already have an ACLS card, not all of them will have that. That's why this says if applicable. If they don't have it, because they haven't done those yet, that's okay. If an ECFMG certificate is appropriate, they need to include that as well. For those who do actually not fall under the ECFMG, if they have clinical clerkships, they have to include those there. And then I talked about having a visa or a permanent resident card. They have to include a copy of that also. All right, and so these are some of the same links as above. I do think the TMS enrollment one is the one I wanted to pull up for just a quick second. And the important part about this is it is going to go through the details of setting up an account, okay? And so they'll click on a link, and then in this form that is the pictorial, down below explains how they are to create an account. The piece about this that I want to really stress that's super important is when they create their account, they need to, again, just as I said before, not use their medical school email. Because in a year, when they don't remember their password, and they need to go in and redo their MTT training, which is what this TMS allows them to do, the link gets sent to the email that was listed when they created the account, which now is their medical school, which they now can't access. And so the reset link is lost. And it just there's just several extra steps that have to take place for that to occur, for them to reset it so that they can go in and do their MTT refresher training. So again, very important here that they do not use their medical school email when they're setting up this account. So that's the piece there that I really wanted to mention. This is very step-by-step, and it takes them through how to get this set up. And then again, this is something that they will have to access every year in order to do their MTT refresher training, in order to keep their access here. Is there any questions about this? I don't know if Latanya, you need to just scroll down, but it's just really going through the pictorial step by step. So it's very helpful to them to explain what everything is and how to get to it. Okay, any questions about that? Okay. We already did the CPRS tab by tab. And then included here are PDF files for contacts of our directors, our site directors, which are here. This allows our trainees, if they have any questions or issues, they have a VA contact here as the site director. I just transitioned or actually am still in the process of transitioning for emergency medicine. Dr. Kimple will be taking over for me, and so that is the new name on the form, although I will still be available as well. And then we also just have the listings of the resident program coordinators for Charlie Norwood. Those are the folks that will be receiving the packets. And so their contact information for you all to know who to contact to hand off all of the packets in the TGCDLs. And that has been updated. And then we also have the listing for our resident ad packs. And those are the folks who will be working through the process for computer access and beginning the process to get the PIP card in HR, and they will work with HR to get everything together in order for our residents to be able to get their PIP cards. And the primary care one here, that will be updated. That's actually, before it goes out next week, we've had a few last minute changes on our ad packs, and those are going to be updated. And then we just included, it's a long handbook. I don't think we need to open it, but it is a VA employee handbook. It just talks about all the things employee related or working at the VA, even though they're not, they may not look at themselves as a VA employee. It is all the things that are important to know about working here and what's the expectations of working here. And then lastly, there's the employee responsibilities and conduct. And it is, again, just another policy that explains the responsibilities of working here and the type of conduct that we expect of all our employees. So that's the packet. That's everything. It does take them some time to get through it, so that you are aware. That's why I suggest that you keep asking them every week for the status on that, just so that you're aware of that, where they are in their process and they have somebody nudging them along. The other thing I would say just about that packet, just from being an EM program site director, And I know that not everybody does this, but it has worked very well. We have had great success in onboarding our residents pretty smoothly in the last few years that I've taken over as site director. But I will say that that all is because of the AUEM program coordinator who has been really the person who's been the collection of everything. And so what they have done is once they've gotten the packets, they have looked through all of it to make sure that everything is complete, everything is consistent, and that it has all been filled out. And then when all of that packet is done and all the packets pulled together, they hand them off with the TQCVLs very complete and ready to roll. And we don't have to be going back and forth between the residents to make sure this wasn't done. Can you fill this out? You didn't check this box. We need you to check the box. And so although we don't require that you as the program coordinator go through all of this, I would tell you that it's been very successful in the programs that have done it as the first line stop to looking it all over and making sure everything is ready to roll. And that really saves our trainees a lot of frustration, time, and delay through the process. So that's just coming from the EM side where I worked so recently and know that it has done such a great job of being successful. If you have any questions about that, you can ask me too. Okay, and then we're going to go through just the memos and the letters that are associated with our TQ-CVLs. So this is the one for Augustine University, and basically this is the form that the program director will sign. So you have to include the name of the program and the program director, and that they certify that they each of the trainees on the attached list have met all of those requirements. And so that's where you will be ensuring that they have their vaccines and all of the things related to that are expected here. Along the way here, this other piece here, I certify that every HPT on the attached list has met all admission criteria. And if you notice, this is the one that I was kind of alluding to, where if they mention or document any licenses in their packet, that they need, that this certification through the state licensing board and or national and state certification bodies has been checked. Or if they do have a DEA number or an NPI number, that those boxes are checked. We've had a lot of these letters coming back and none of those are checked, even though in the packet, some of those things are included. So just be aware of that, that if those things are in the packet of any of the HPTs, because this goes for all of them, if any of those have it, then you have to check those things. Okay. And then again, we also have to have a copy of their selective service registration. And so that needs to be also included if they were a male, obviously, in the time frame in which they would be required to register for that. And then if they are an ECFMG, that certificate as well. And if they have any licenses, they need to also have that as well as if they have been screened against it, or they will, that you guys have screened them against the National Practitioner Data Bank if they have any licenses. All right, and then I think that's it. And then once that's signed off by the program director, it will land on my desk for me to review also and sign off. Any questions on that letter? Okay. All right, so we have, this is just to show you what the forms look like. So obviously there's a TQ-CVL that needs to correspond to all of the trainees that will be in your program rotating at the VA. They are kind of identified out of 3 different groups. The first group is the new group. So that is the ones that are coming in that have not been at this VA before. that may also include, if I remember right, if they're transitioning to your program from another program at AU. Then I think Latanya or Kim can, or maybe even Carol can tell me if they go on the new form. I think they go on the new form. Is that right? Because they're new to that program.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, because we had that question come up last year. And so realize that if they're coming, say, from internal medicine and now they're moving to neurology, they would go on the new form, even though they were already at AU at a previous program. All right, so that's, and then all the information gets filled out here as expected, the PGY year, et cetera. Okay. And then the next TQ-CDL form is for the promotions. So those are the ones that have already been in your program and are moving up a year, as hopefully all of them do. And so this is to show your, if you want to call it the upper classmen of your program, this is where all of their information would be included. Any questions about these two forms? Okay. You should be, am I missing something, Latanya, that you're trying to show me? Okay, I thought not. Okay, and then we get to the terminations. And so this is the memorandum form that shows that you have reviewed the attached TQ-CDL and the terminations memo was received, and that you concur with this. So these are the folks that are graduating and will be leaving the program. And whether or not they're staying and becoming a fellow doesn't matter. They are graduating from your program. And so this gets filled out with their information that this is the terminations. So any questions about this? No? Okay. I think there's one more form, right, Latanya?
This is it.
Oh, that's it. Okay. All right. So we have 5 minutes for any last minute questions. I know it was a lot, and we went through it in miraculous time. Are there any questions that anybody has as far as anything to the process or the forms?
Connie, this is Tom Hartney. Can I make a comment?
Absolutely, please.
I just want to thank you for going through all this. It's, as you said, it's a lot, but well organized. I don't know if I heard you mention the thought about the AU programs trying to stratify their oncoming trainees from who's here local versus who's coming from out of state or out of town, because it certainly would be more accessible to get the local people through all this process early since they're here, and then it's going to reduce the amount of last minute actions that need to be done from the out-of-state people when they come in the week or two before the start date.
Yes, I did not mention that. That's a very good point. So those who are arriving early or already here as students, I would encourage you all to nudge them towards the process of fingerprinting and getting moving as quickly as possible. Yeah. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions?
Dr. Lavery,
Go ahead, Carol.
There are actually some questions in the chat box if
Oh.
you can open up or someone wants to
Okay.
look at those.
Let me see if I can open that up. Okay. So the first one I see is the vapiv.com address does not appear to be valid when she tested it yesterday. I thought when we tested it today, it worked. Am I correct on that? Was I?
I think there's another address that we need to insert in that document.
Okay. This is the link I was assuming to. I'm trying to figure out which, right there.
That link does work. It's
Yeah.
the one in the instructions.
Oh,
Checklist.
okay, okay, all right. So we'll make sure that that one is corrected, but the one that is on this form, that link is the one I know that, yeah, I had checked it too, so, okay, thank you for that question. And they are still doing walk-ins, but yes, I would strongly encourage them to make the appointment. Because depending on the day or the time, they could be sitting there for quite a while. If there's several people in front of them. So just to save their time and frustration levels, I would really highly, strongly encourage them to make appointments. All right, there's another chat here. I have a PGY3 resident that will be doing her surgery rotation in July because she missed it this past July. Do I bring her in as new? PGY3 resident that will be doing. So has she, I guess my question would be, has she rotated at the VA before? Is she new to your program? And Ms. Hannah, are you on here that you can? Okay, I'll write down her name and see if I can't reach out to her. And then the forms are not, it's my understanding, they're not MacBook friendly. Is that correct, guys? We have tried them on personal computers,
Mhm.
but I don't personally own a Mac. Does anybody else, Latanya or Carol or Kim, tried to open it on a MacBook? Okay,
No, I have not. But we do want to recommend, I don't remember if you mentioned about the Acrobat
I did not.
DC that they have to use.
So yes, so they do, in order to open these forms, they have to have Acrobat DC. My computer came with it, so I didn't even remember that, but yes, it does, they do have to have that. And it is documented somewhere in this, it's mentioned, it might be on the very first form. Okay, and then another question here says, I have an incoming resident who completed her internal medicine intern year at AU. She left and will be coming back. Do I put her as a transfer? So, Carol, you may want to answer that question. I believe she will be new, correct? Or is she promotion?
I actually don't know that question. We'll have to get back to her. Since she's
Sure.
already been here, did she complete all her requirements to be promoted to the next year?
Okay, I'm writing down her name, so we can reach out to her. Okay. Oh, yes, she did. Okay. All right, Ms. Foskey, if you can shoot us a way to reach you, we'll try to get that answer to you. All right, and it is 2:01. Does anybody have any more burning questions? I will also say you can reach me via email or any of our numbers listed for the affiliations office.
Dr. LaVera Reynolds, this is Ellen in HR. I do have a couple of HR related questions.
Okay.
If you like, I can just shoot you and your team an email, or we can schedule a time to meet later, or we can meet right after this call, however
Okay.
you want to handle that.
Okay. I do have time right after, but I don't know if any of my other folks do.
It'll be very brief.
Okay. And somebody is also asking if all the forms in the packet are somewhere on the SharePoint. I'm sure we could put them on the SharePoint. We will make sure that happens.
They're using the Leaf portal, right? I mean,
Oh,
that-
that's right.
is that where the forms will be as well? Are they on the Leaf portal, or is that just where the documents are going to be placed?
That's where the documents is going to be placed.
Is on the
Okay.
leaf. Yeah, I forgot it about the leaf. Yep. Okay. All right, any last questions? Okay, I appreciate y'all taking the time. Again, we are here to help, so please feel free to reach out to us. And we really look forward to having new trainees next year, and we've enjoyed having the ones we have every year, so we appreciate all of the hard work you guys put in to getting them here. All right, well, very good. Y'all have a good afternoon. Thank you for coming.